Hey everyone, so joined today, Claire, aren't we? We're luckily joined by Mr. Tony Truman. Thank you so much for finding the time to come and be with us. It's absolutely, for those that might just be watching this episode, this started with Claire and I thinking, let's do an Instagram live, like you and I did.
Yeah, like we did.
And this is how it's turned out. It rolled into a 6-part series in Ibiza, but we've had the most phenomenal time filming it, and to have you join us for what is our last episode is absolutely amazing. So thank you so much. We're going to be talking about suicide and suicide in the workplace. This one going out, as everyone watching will know, on World Suicide Awareness Day. Hugely important to start raising awareness around this and talking about it. There's a couple of things that I thought we could chat around on this. I know that you've had some personal experiences of suicide, as have you, Claire, and I think it's the only way we can remove this stigma and discrimination that still goes with it, and the elephant in the room, as we called it.
It is though, isn't it? Like, people feel uncomfortable saying it.
Yeah.
And it's something that, if that was taken away, people would just be more relaxed about it, and it means that people get help and people know what to look out for, because people think they know what to look out for, but they don't.
I was chatting to, before I let you jump in, I was chatting last night to your sister, and we were saying the thoughts of suicide are so common. 1 in 20 people have thoughts of suicide, yet we don't talk about it, we don't acknowledge it, and we think if someone says the word that they're just going to go and kill themselves, and that's really not the case of it at all.
It's quite a taboo sort of subject in a way that people don't want to sort of talk about. Uncomfortable for people, yeah. Yeah.
You misunderstood as well, isn't it?
It's you were telling me, and I think we spoke about it when we last did the interview, 3 people in a short space of time.
Yeah, about 9-10 years ago, 3 of my very, very close lifelong friends all committed suicide in the space of 5 weeks. All over the Christmas period. Apparently it's quite a common time. I didn't even realise that people, for depression and for suicide, and at that time of year, I suppose, when everything's so joyous, in a lot of people in life, and whether they have sort of different worries and financial or relationship or business, whatever. And that happened to me. And also, we was actually going through a very difficult business time ourselves at the time, and it just seems like, wow, at one point the whole world's caving in, really.
It's so hard to process the feelings. Again, we were saying, we at Hummingbird comes about through a suicide. I know Panic the Mother, you kind of started on your journey post the suicide, and it seems for a lot of people to be the catalyst to change, to be in, I can't allow it. Why is this happening? Why is this ridiculous thing of no one talking about it happening still in a world where we talk about everything, you name it. If anything you can think of, someone's done it, been there, seen it, tried it. I mean that across anything. Yet there's still certain words we're like, oh. Yeah.
And the shock element of people, like when you see a celebrity and you hear that they've taken it, everyone's like, oh, just wouldn't expect it and stuff. That's the kind of bullshit of the stigma of what mental health must look like. Yeah. And that's obviously not, there isn't a what mental health looks like.
It's nothing. I remember when so for me, and again, it's come up last night, there was a young guy who was on a reality TV show, and I was just starting off on my journey of qualifying in mental health and doing what I do. And there was a young guy, and we won't go into names because that's not what this is about, but he took his own life, and it was all over the papers. And I remember standing in my front room crying over a guy I've never met, never knew. I just thought, fuck it, I've had enough of this shit.
I think I know who you're talking about, and I knew him pretty well from always coming to Ibiza and partying and being a very good-looking boy. And on the outside, you think, oh my God, he's got everything. He's got the looks, he's got the lifestyle, and everything. He's got the girls, the career, all those things these young sort of guys aspire to, and everything. And then what that happened, it's like, Jesus, that was like a bolt from the blue.
It's so frustrating, and I remember standing thinking, right, I can't change this, I can't change what's happening, but what I can do is I can learn to help as many people recognise, because this is the funny thing, and you touched on it then, a lot of the times when people attempt to take their own life, they go through a process. It's called the Suicide Continuum, and usually everyone will go through it. But again, another misconception that we have: Suicide Continuum, and it's the planning process.
I didn't know that.
So,
it's not usually spontaneous.
no, and this is what people believe. People believe that it's literally but what happens is, this is the best analogy I can come up with is you couldn't just turn around to me tomorrow and throw a 60th birthday party. I mean, maybe you could actually, but everyone else would be like, right, I want to have a party tomorrow. And in order to have this party, I need to know where I'm going to have it. Is there free booze? People pay for the booze. Is there food? What am I going to wear? What am I going to dress? And you have to plan it. Suicide, and this is Suicide Continuum, is the same process. Wow. So what will happen is a person will generally be experiencing poor mental health, so a mental illness, and they'll often be at the point where they feel so much emotional pain that they decide they want to kill themselves. And for me, I could say it's quite easily, but it's quite a hard thing to work out how you'd actually do it. So people need to plan that, and then when they've done that, this can last weeks or months, this planning process. And then once they've planned that, they then have to plan the next part, which would be where. And then once they plan where, and at any point on the process, you can have a really good life experience. You can meet someone, medication, and you can go right back to the starting point again. But as quick as you go back, you can flip straight back to where you were. So this planning has to happen. And one of the last things that people will plan is who's going to find them. And this is really key because there's three pockets of groups here. There's those that want to be found by certain people, those that don't mind who finds them, and those that don't want to be found. So all of these planning parts have to go in. So when people say there were never signs, often it means that we've chosen not to see the signs, because months of planning, you give off a lot of information. Once someone gets to this point, so let's go back to the party analogy now. You've organised your party, you're all ready to go, you get to the venue, you have your first drink, all that stress and anxiety that you've had goes, and Suicide Continuum is exactly the same. People get to the point where they've made their plans, they know what they're going to do, they know how they're going to do it, and that's when you always hear people say, we never saw it coming, because they start seeing friends again, they start re-engaging with people, they pay back money, they buy people drinks, holidays, and people think, oh, Johnny's got better. Pat on the back, Johnny's better now. And this is what the world needs to know, is that if you know someone who's lives with depression or anxiety or any other form of mental illness and they've expressed these feelings, if there's a sudden change, that's when you should be on most high alert. And that's the Suicide Continuum. And it is rare that an individual won't follow that to some degree, some length of time. So it's never very rarely spontaneous, unless it's a crime that's being committed or
one of my best mates who done it, I lived with him for 3 months, and he'd come move into my house, and I looked after him. Then he wanted to get his own place, and I really didn't want him to get it. I was like, I don't think you're in a fit state to sort of get it. And he was like so insistent. Then he went away with his ex-partner on a family holiday, and he came back and he said something to me that just totally freaked me out. He said, oh my God, he said, I had a mad moment on holiday. He said, I wanted to murder them all. Like, you what? This was a guy who had a sort of personality similar to mine, very outgoing, loved life, loved the good times. And he said something like that. I was like, oh my God, it absolutely freaked me out. I remember standing in my kitchen thinking, wow, man, you can't have those sort of dark thoughts. And I actually thought for the first time then, you are in a really dark place to even express that, even to say to someone, okay, you might have thought it. Everyone sort of thinks, oh, whatever. To actually sort of say it to me. And when he was saying it to me, I could see this glare like a madman in his eyes. And I was like, wow, I've known you all my life, but I've never seen that sort of dark element in you before. And then 3 weeks later, he was dead.
And this is that whole process that comes out that. And I guess part of what I do, and I know Claire does, and why we're having these open, candid, and we've said it before, say it again, non-clinical, real-life conversations, is there's so many millions of people that don't know this simple information that could save someone's life. It's really important to just be aware of it.
Not being scared of the word, just it's got to become a word that we obviously take seriously, but we feel comfortable. Being suicidal is not normal. Having mental illness, this kind of is not normal. But talking about it should be more normal.
Totally.
And then less people would probably have it.
I think a lot of people think of it as a sadness as well, don't they? Or they think of selfishness. I must admit, when a couple of my friends done it, I thought, wow, how selfish. They've got little kids and. So I suppose that element is, but if they're in a really sort of dark place.
Well, I think that's the thing. when you're in that place, you don't think like that. So you have to try and see this person in front of you, look outside the box a bit, and think, okay, she's not thinking like that, and you have to just imagine their head just flipped, because you actually end up thinking, I'm more bother here, so I'm a bad parent. They're better off with, if they had to be with their dad, their mum, their nan, their grandma. This is making their life worse. But also that kind of weight of that. I think there's a big misconception of how painful mental health illness actually feels. It's not just in your head. Like, it's in your body and it physically hurts. Like the amount of times I've been like, I can't do this and I can't taste my, because it's always in my stomach and like they're just panicking and everything.
Do people not think of their kids then? It's like when we've all got sort of down or a bad time. It's like you've only got to like look at a picture of your, and it's like what just sort of pulls you out of it.
But not always.
No,
really.
More times not.
More times not. No, because so many people with kids do it, don't they?
With the two things there, one of the things with the continuum is even when the mind's made up, this is what's going to happen, the individual still desperately will be searching for a sign, something to jolt their foot of their. So for example, for every life lost on a railway line, for every one life lost, 6 are saved just by someone going up and going, are you all right? Now those 6 lives, they had a plan to be there, they had a plan to have done it, but that one person that jolts, that is what they're desperate for.
Takes you out of that mindset.
But to then go back what you were saying about loved ones, and I can't stress what Claire said enough. I've stayed at your house, well, I haven't, but I've been at your house for 6 years, and I'm thinking, Tony could probably do me he probably wants his space back now, I should probably go.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. It's like, so I'm doing you a favour by going.
Yeah. Wow.
But and that's the pain that I guess that doesn't resonate or if you're
I
not.
just think you can't, and I think that's the thing. Yeah, we can never really walk in someone else's shoes and feel their pain, which is why we've got to develop more being educated, empathy, and accepting that even if we can't see that way or think that's okay, that doesn't mean that's not okay. You have to be, because the last thing someone needs that's either like lost someone suicide or has made an attempt in hospital or something's been told that they're selfish. Oh, what are you doing? Like, so you think that touch upon the children with me, like, because of the way I am, I have this like enormous empathy that destroys me. So for me, I'm like, I'm in that state and I want to, and I have been, but then I'm like, I picture them without me and no one can parent like me and stuff like that. But that's part of my like autism and stuff like that. But obviously, if people don't have that, then you're going to think they're, you're better off. It's so misunderstood.
It's so there's a thing around 2 states again, and it's often a person going on the physical pain that Claire said that goes with a mental illness. There's a lot of physical pain. They go hand in hand. Again, people don't realise if you live with anxiety, chances are you're going to have a lot of pain across your chest because you're constantly like this. With your depression, again, pain's coming through in a physical state. But often somebody who's got to the point of deciding that they're going to attempt suicide is because they see 2 options. I carry on living on this planet in immense emotional and physical pain,
Existing and it's hellish.
or I just don't exist and the pain stops. And that's often part of my role as suicide prevention that I teach, is to try and help people understand there's a third option where you just pause and you talk. Because again, there's a myth, those who talk about suicide don't do it. Well, actually, I love that because that's what you want. Often, exactly that. Often people who do, but then they're screwed either way. Because if I say, I want to die, and I don't, because I've spoken about it, I'm an attention seeker. But do you see what I mean? So it's a catch-22 because we want people to talk. Because when people talk, they can get help, they can get support. But then, of course, they don't go through with it. So you're just attention seeking. Whereas the ones that don't talk are the ones who don't get help and support and often find themselves there. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
We're told to not feel these emotions. We're only like celebrated the good emotion. People need to understand actually we're never going to feel good all the time, and to sit with the bad ones, they will pass, and it's fucking hellish. But funny, sorry, but they do pass. And if we were kind of educating people more on these emotions can feel shit, they don't even necessarily have to develop into all these things.
How have you found? So your three friends it must have been a huge blow to you.
Huge, massive. Well, it's something you never recover. You still miss them to this day, and you feel for their families and their little ones. And two of the people who done it had, kids very, very close to me as well. And it's just unbelievable. It's interesting what you said there, how about people wanting to, who they want to find them and everything. It's like, personally, I've never sort of thought of that.
Yeah.
You just sort of think of the actual death and the reasons why did they do it. But I've never sort of thought of it that way, that they actually plan it out like you said. And it's also interesting that you said, because we had a guy, I think this is how our relationship first came about last year, a guy who worked within our business structure. He was living in an apartment like a lot of workers in San Antonio, and he didn't get on with all the people he worked with. But then they said, and then he had that fallout that night, and he jumped off the balcony where he, before that, tried to harm a few of them. He totally lost the plot. But they said afterwards, when we spoke to the staff about it, they were saying in the 2 days leading up to that, how he'd changed, how he'd been nice, how he had paid back some money and everything. And just you saying that then, it just reminded me, wow, he must have known.
Exactly. In his head, he's like,
but it's just a shame with his case that he wanted to do something harmful to other people, which is, is a bit sort of, couldn't get my head around a little bit, really.
But it's the whole, and every time I talk to people about this, and this is what makes me feel like I'm achieving something, because when I say it and someone's been fit, they go, that makes sense now. And the more you can educate one person, and that person can learn how to potentially, because we've all got it in us to save someone's life, but as we get older, we put on all of our blinkers and all of our filters, and we just see people as disruptive or manipulative or angry, and we blinker down. Whereas, because I've trained some of your staff that you have now because of the fallout, and trying to teach or allow people to understand that the signs are always there. They say 95% of the time someone will give us signs, either consciously, subconsciously. Personally, I think it's 100, and that 5% buffer is just that kind of allowance of someone who might have missed it not to, but pretty much that paying back of debts, that going back in is...
Do they not have it on any curriculums at school or anything?
Nope.
Nothing at all?
Another thing, school, workplaces as well, like, obviously, the majority of people spend more time at work than they do, at home. If workplaces had, they're trained, or they have, like, every so often they've got a therapist that comes in, and it's really chilled. Like, if you can go and talk to them, and it's something that's just a support thing in work. Because people will go to work, paint on the light, and go home, and this completely different story. And I do think that workplaces have a responsibility.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think especially, in all environments, but in the work environment we're in out here, where there's we got 700 staff, aged between 18 and 30, sort of thing, really. And obviously
a lot of pressure with
that sort of generation, especially social media led as well, as not blaming social media, because social media's got good and bad points to it and everything, but they're all look up to people who've got this and got that, the materialistic things in life, or having the best times, because with social media, people only put the good things on. Nobody puts the bad things, do they? Really. So I think with the pressure with that as well, I think that's another reason I wanted to get involved with you guys, because it's how to sort of look at all of that together, really, because people social media can make people massively depressed as well, can't
massively.
It?
I mean, like you said, it's such a positive tool, but it's also filled with fucking bellends. Sorry, that won't at you, by the way.
It can be, don't worry.
It's just where the way happens to be the way the hand went. And people that obviously the bullying and things like that, but also just like you said, the pressure of everyone feeling they've got to dress a certain way, look a certain way. Like O-Beach. You could, people watching the stories and stuff. I mean, O-Beach to me is my idea of fucking hell.
It's to me sometimes as well.
Because that's just not, I mean...
No, that's what, everyone's got a different thing, but...
I don't mean that because it's a shithole or something.
I totally understand.
I just mean in ways of because I've seen the bits, but it's probably because I've seen the stories, and I think Can you imagine me walking, like they wear bikinis and stuff? I'd wear a bikini, but then I'd want some kind of headwear.
You need the headgear.
And I'd need something more than that. It just wouldn't be enough.
Yeah. But this is the key thing about everything that we're doing, everything that happens, because everyone's an individual. And what I realised very early on, because, I like certain things that weren't being, places I go, places I enjoy, music I like, wasn't being catered for. And certainly with O Beach, think about how many people fall through your doors in one season. So what you're looking at is 1 in 20 people will have thoughts of suicide. It's common, but you're more likely to come into contact with someone having thoughts of suicide than you ever have someone having a heart attack.
Huge.
So think about your footfall at O Beach, just one venue, the number of people that are coming through your doors every year.
Roughly 300,000 plus.
300,000, then you're talking about 1 in 20 of those having thoughts of suicide. 15,000 people every year in your venue having thoughts about killing themselves.
Oh my God.
It's huge. And this is the thing that needs to be done. This is the thing that needs to be looked at and changed.
It's mind-blowing. I think especially in Ibiza, when you combine the drink and the sex, drugs and rock and roll that goes with Ibiza as well.
And I think that, like, the power of, like, on the O Beach Instagram, posting with it, oh my God, because so many people that are thinking they're in the group of not being it's not cool or it's shameful to sort of say about being mental, that will see that you're posting about it and supporting it. It's so ridiculous. I can't tell how much it's like.
That's what we want
it just makes it like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then I can't even explain how amazing. Like, it's like.
I remember when I first went to my work. Before I did this, I worked in the city. I went.
I can't imagine that.
I wore a suit every day. I haven't worn a suit in years. I had to go to my dad's wedding. But anyway, we digress. I remember going into work. I remember looking after all these clients, all these customers, and getting to the point where I needed to tell my work that I was living with depression. And I remember going in, and they did the lip service to a good degree. But one of the things that came back every time was, nah, not you. Not life and soul of the party. You're always having a laugh. You're always smiling. You don't fit it. And I was like,
I look like someone that.
I do. I do.
What
Yeah.
does someone dress like?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
What does
someone
someone
to dress
look
like.
like?
Yeah.
And you'll have
Walks of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
the amount of people, whether they're the person who's buying the cheapest bed that you've got, or whether it's the people that turn up in your VIP area, they all have thoughts and feelings, and they all live with the same emotions. Yeah. And it's even harder for musicians. I haven't really spoke about this, but musicians and footballers are really struggle because. Or anyone in money, because what happens when you get to a certain status in life is people expect you to be a certain way, but also you start to feel yourself, well, I don't deserve. What have I got to moan about?
Yeah. This is the other shit.
And it's bullshit.
Yeah. And also the status thing. Well, actually, a lot of it is only the pedestal that other people put them on.
Yeah.
And then they're shocked if they act human. Like, oh my God, I can't believe he was caught doing drugs or something. Like, oh, fuck off, Sally. Yeah. Come on. Do you know what I mean? I don't know who Sally is, but she's featured heavily in these videos. But do you know what I mean? We put celebrities, people in these things, and then when they act outside of the box that we put them in, we're disappointed, and we're like, oh, and you're just sucking up all the shit that they put in the papers and feeding into it. So what's that doing to them people?
I use an analogy when I train people around musicians. Like, if you're a successful musician and you have a #1 hit, for example, people see that as consumers. We love it. We're like, yeah, great, #1 hit. I'm going to walk around singing it. And I try and make this realistic. And I say, right, imagine you're Steve the car salesman, okay? Yeah. And you go to work one day and you have a dream day. You've sold like 100 new motors. Right? You've beaten the worldwide record for car sales. You're at the top of your game. You're walking out, people are high-fiving you. You're like, yeah, you're fucking amazing. People taking your photo. You go home, you're buzzing. You're, yeah, this is awesome. You go to work the next day. 101 today? Yeah. Well, hang on. That's what like getting a #1 is. Yeah, artists do it and we go, can you get me another one?
We have that whether you're a celebrity or not.
Yeah, that's right.
This is what every human has. Because of the way that we're programmed in society to act, to behave, but we have this with everything, don't we? From parenting to fucking everything.
But that's when the celebrities, like you said, or the people that and there has been a lot of high-profile suicides recently, and I think when that happens, we forget that they have the same journey. The same, it might be magnified with money, but the pressures are still there, the influence is still there.
I don't think it's we forget, I think it's the press, that other people have a responsibility to stop portraying them like that.
Do people know where to get the advice from? Because that's the other thing.
Yeah.
So when this happened to us last year, we went, okay, and we're a big group, and we think we're pretty well connected and things like that. And we went, actually, who do we turn to? There's quite a bit.
I hate even saying this with cancer, saying you would know where and this is exactly what I mean. It's about having that information out there.
I think there's a couple of things. So obviously you guys now use We Are Hummingbird to a degree, which is amazing, and I think I'm one of 75 people in the UK that specialise in a certain qualification of suicide prevention and intervention. So I know even since we've engaged, I talked to some of your staff completely confidentially. There's some great ways. So the Samaritans is amazing and will remain amazing. And this is an interesting thing, is they can't shake the stigma that they got. If I say Samaritans, people think of old grannies in cardigans sipping tea. They'll never shake that. No matter how many rebrands they do. But they're an amazing, they're pioneering for it. But Samaritans is a great one. But one of the things that I was going to point out, and to anyone watching this, there's an app, an amazing app. I'll promote it to them blue in the face. It's called Stay Alive. It's two hands like that, making a heart shape. One's blue, one's orange. We'll post the link to it. Stay Alive. It's a grassroots app that's phenomenal, and you can literally download it, let it go into the cloud until it's needed. If you are someone that has thoughts of suicide, you can put in their safety plans. So if you've got your phone, you've always got your safety plan. It could be people you want to contact, people that can help in the matter of need. You can write your key points that are your kind of guidance if you're feeling that you're going into wanting to attempt. But as well as it being a support tool for people who have thoughts of suicide, it's really good to have should you be walking down the street and see someone sat on a bridge and be like, right, hang on, I need to get involved, I need to step in. Loads of helpful information, loads of good stuff. So Stay Alive is a key one. And there's great courses like I do for your staff. I do day-long courses where I teach people the skills. So there is stuff, there's great stuff. But
And I think the way it's put out there is not that easy to relate to. So there's a lot of information on both our websites.
Yes, definitely.
And there's also a lot of links to like lots of different other charities, people that can help and things like that. I think that there's not enough, as simple as that, and that's what we're trying to change.
World Suicide Awareness Day, there'll be a lot.
Even having to say that is awful. There's a fucking day for it.
But this is the thing.
Wow.
So this is the thing that comes up with days. So you have Mental Health Awareness Week, which is great, but at the same time, and I post about this on my page, it needs to be every day. Having a week is great, and it's good to push content, and it's good to recognise it, but this is a daily thing, ups and downs, highs and lows. But today, when this goes live, there will be an influx of information on people's senses around suicide. It's making sure it happens tomorrow as well, and the day after, and the day after, and the day after. So it's really key that we work around that.
And how do you sort of think? Do you think you're personally winning the battle? Not winning the battle, because it's something you'll probably never win, is it? Because people sort of have suicide through red mist as well, a lot of the time, don't they?
I think for us, we both want to make it. Workplaces have a responsibility, and it becomes part of their, the team. They have some, completely. I think there needs to be helplines that when you call up and say I'm suicidal, they don't say, if you've not made an attempt, then we can't help you. I'm not going to say what that is, but just if I was in a crisis.
You can't do it until there's blood. And that's essentially what happens. Same with A&E wards, with self-harm.
Right, yeah.
Take someone to A&E who's self-harm, they're like...
It's attention seeking, isn't it?
Yeah. You've not done anything. You did.
Oh my God. Jesus, when they sort of delved into the facts of that. Again, if you think you know those things, and you look into that and the statistics that came out of that, like 1 in 4.
We should also point out that suicide, people believe that self-harm and suicide go hand in hand. They don't. They both start with S. That's it. That's literally, whilst people who self-harm might progress due to a mental illness, it's not like a stepping stone. Like when my mum was young, she was like, if you have cannabis, then you'll be onto the, like a step. It's not like that, right? It doesn't work that way. To go, we're conscious of time, but we'll go for a little bit longer if that's okay. But just the numbers you mentioned about how we're winning the battle. So to put it in terms, in the UK every year, around 15 double-decker airplanes, equivalent of 15 double airplanes crashing. That's the number of suicides in the UK every year. 15. Now that's reported. You want to add another 5 on top of that for the deaths that go as unreported. So you're hitting around 10,000 suicides every year in the UK. So if you say we're winning the battle, probably not. Of them, you're looking at around average 12 men a day, 4 women a day, every day. So today, it's a lot higher in men. Couple of reasons. Yeah, I'm glad you asked. If we take this up, men don't talk. So that's a big one. Men
better expressing their feelings and emotions.
Yeah, men don't talk. Men bottle it up. Men won't go and seek help. But one of the driving factors between it is the methods used. So men will use more brutal methods. Right. So the point at which injuries occurred to death will be a lot quicker. And it's not, we don't need to talk about methods or means, because once you do that, you start glamorising it. But men will generally use different methods that have a quicker, a less chance of recovery. Yeah. And that adds to those stats that there are. And it's sad that, you know, anyone watching this, in the UK alone, 12 men woke up today that won't wake up tomorrow, and 4 women. And that's every day.
It's their choice.
Yeah. And you mentioned around Christmas, that's an interesting one, because people believe that. But it's
I think choice is when you're in mental illness.
Yeah.
Takes that choice away, I think. And the pressure of men to be manly, all this bullshit.
Be the provider or whatever, and stuff like that.
So
this feels like
I almost feel like it's never a choice, because you're so ill in that moment.
Yeah.
It's not, because you wouldn't make that choice if you wasn't. I think that's a really key thing for people to remember.
Yeah.
That's not your permanent state of mind.
No.
So it's not a rational choice.
You can go and sleep on it. The next day you wake up in a different mindset.
And that's that pause thing that we try and make people aware. There's not just 2 options. There's this pause, and that's when talking out, speaking, having someone that goes, right, I'm so glad you told me this. Yeah. Let's move forward. What we're going to do. Having that third option will save so many people's lives. And again, we've said about the workplace, the sooner that workplaces, because that's where people spend their time, as soon as people start introducing this, educating themselves, whilst I remember I was going to say earlier, we have this perception or this belief that emergency services, police, ambulance, GPs, doctors, that they're trained in this. They're not.
No.
People, unless they go on a course, are not trained in suicide prevention. So the police aren't trained in it, although they'll often be the ones that will get called to go and deal with it. The only difference is they can put someone under a 136, they can detain them against their act. But they're not trained in suicide prevention. Your GP's not trained in suicide prevention. Your doctor, your paramedic.
Should be like a 999 towards that as well, wouldn't it?
Should be.
Instead of the emergency service, that's an emergency service.
That would be a good thing to invest
in.
Really?
Do a bit of a dream.
But it would though, wouldn't it, really? Because so many people, and I think probably coming out the back of the virus and the way the world is, I think people are going to be even more depressed, because there's going to be, so many sort of things that have failed through this global situation. I think that figure could rise quite.
And this is the thing. So I hear it all the time during the COVID, and people are saying, "Wow, suicide rate's gone up." It's an interesting thing, because we don't know that. Factually, we don't know this yet. We don't get official stats for a number of years after.
They're blaming all deaths on COVID.
Yeah, but you don't get all your stats, so we don't know the true effect that suicide has had. Now, people will form their own thoughts, and this is what happens with everything. Oh, there's been a spike in suicides. I've done the research. There's no set figures on this. Right. Probably looking at 2021 tail end that we'll really know. I read something the other day about the increase in child suicides during COVID, and again, it couldn't find any research, any factual research on it. But it will have an effect. People will be affected. So, but yeah, I think for time-wise, it's, unless there's anything else people want to cover, I think it's so important.
Just to make it so important that people go.
So important, so important what you guys are doing to sort, for companies like us and getting people in the, like you say, the work. If it starts in the workplace, that can sort of spread out from there, and hopefully you can go to schools. I think if you catch them, young enough, really, like sort of Jamie Oliver done with the food thing for schools and stuff like that. Maybe if you could do something like that.
This is what we were saying earlier, and we're just two organisations that are trying to reach as many people as possible, and that's why having guests like yourself and people that have reach and influencers, if we want to call them that, and what takes someone who is an influencer 10 minutes, if they're doing it with one finger, to post something that can change people's lives.
Yeah.
And then that's all it takes. And that's, because I'm not Jamie Oliver. I don't cook like Jamie Oliver. I'm not Jamie Oliver. But if you had someone that could have the power of him that goes, right, just and stop. This needs to happen. This is what's going to go on. This is what needs to be done.
But if you're waiting for that, it will never happen. So you have to be the person that, because if you're participating in it, you're part of the problem. So you've got to stand up and be like, okay, I'm maybe only one person, but I'll verify.
So the thought we do, I get contacted from O Beach, the Wiki Woo, all of our business, Bamboo Coo, all of our businesses, influencers galore. Probably, I would say, at least 100 a day. Me personally, and that's without them getting in contact with the businesses, asking, can they come down there to do a photo, this and that and everything. Imagine we said to all of those influencers, and some of them got some serious numbers as well. Some of them haven't, and they think they're an influencer, but some of them have as well. If we actually said to them, listen, okay, come down, do a post at O Beach or Wiki Woo, but I want you to do that as well. That's something you can really,
I feel that's something you should do.
Yeah, honestly. Right.
But this is how easy it is.
That's the same for the awareness. That's what the whole thing's about, the awareness, isn't it? Really.
You need to also post this on it.
Maybe we need to speak to Jem about that, because I think that is a really good way. Because I think with our influencers, it's something like 50 million. Yeah. 50 million, the reach that we have from it.
But they might, and it's not like you're asking much of your influencers, because most of those will be in exactly the demographic of individuals that need it. And just not because of influencers, by default of population. So the awareness is huge. It doesn't take long once someone starts. The reason most of the demographic don't do it at the moment is because they don't feel there's anything that speaks to them, that there's anything they resonate with, because it's clinical and it's white papers. Once you make it tangible in real life, and we have conversations like this, people go, fuck, I didn't know that. Suddenly it's there, and they're like, right, it's a no-brainer.
That's something I want to try and make happen, because we give away hotel rooms, bottles of vodka galore. Wow, for something that's actually so serious in life, and people generally need help.
You know what I mean? I might open up packs in every room.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
There's some pink fluffy jackets as well.
You can have packs.
When she goes to bed at night, I wear them around the house.
People need to understand the power of influence, in the sense of seeing someone, whatever they happen to relate to or look up to, that kind of, oh my God, if they're talking about it.
That's actually influencing something incredible and something seriously. Not just influence because you're standing next to a pretty backdrop.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It's true, isn't it? Someone's life and it's far more important than...
Just reaching out, getting communication, talking to someone, having someone really want... It's so powerful, and it's the simplest thing. We all have the ability to listen to someone when in need. We might not know where to go, but if you arm yourself with the tools going, I can get you in touch with someone.
Yep.
That's taken 20 seconds of your life.
Yeah.
I can get you in touch with someone who can really help you and save your life.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to be done. We are. It's going to be amazing.
One person job done.
That's all we do as an organisation. One person is enough. Right, on that note,
wicked.
Thank you so much. Guys, thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Really nice.
You're going to invest in...